Hello and welcome back to the channel. It's myself, Elite Gaming Guru, and I almost called you, Red Dead Panda. Hello, are you there?
I am there. Hi, Elite.
Uh,
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I almost called you. Oh, what was I calling
Red
you last
Dead
week?
Redemption
Red Dead
again?
Redemption. Yeah, I almost called you Red Dead Redemption. Yeah, how you been? How's
Oh,
your weekend going? Going all right?
everything's been pretty good. We just had a bit of a semi kind of lockdown, not lockdown this week. Like 7 days. So that's been interesting. I've been able to work from home, so no hideous commute to and from work, which has been really lovely. Um, I haven't done much gaming, but I did watch the season finale of WandaVision. Have
No,
you
don't
watched
spoil
that
it.
yet,
No,
Elite?
I've not. I've been trying to watch it.
Well,
I've been.
I can tell you it is good.
I know. I can imagine it's going to be good.
And I
And then
can tell you that I want is more WandaVision or more just more Wanda in general. I love her character so much.
yeah, but then and then in a week or two's time, we've got Captain America,
No,
Falcon, Winter Soldier,
Falcon
Winter Soldier,
and Winter Soldier, yes.
and then after
Well,
that,
I'm
it's thrown on to after that comes thingy, doesn't it?
what is it Black Widow coming out in
I,
April?
are they dropping
The
it on
movie, I
Disney
think.
Plus? Are they gonna actually drop it on Disney
Probably.
Plus? I hope so.
They better. They better, man. I ain't got time to go to the cinema anymore. I
No,
need to
no, no.
watch it online. But I'm looking
Yeah,
forward to like Wanda and Doctor Strange's movie that they're doing together because I know that they're
yeah.
filming that at the moment. So I'm like
Well, I
keen
think that's
because
what's going to be the multiverse, isn't it? I know he's doing a Doctor Strange 2. I think she's going to be
yes,
included into that, and it's going to be involve all the
she is in
multiverse,
it. She
and
is in
that's
it.
where I
Yep.
think they're going to start putting in things like because you know what? Because they've talked. Now
Well,
we've
they're
gone
now
right.
working on the
We've gone
next
we've gone
phase.
straight off here off onto gaming. Let's just talk about Marvel for a second, because it's your favourite subject, Marvel over DC, of course.
Just want spoilers for you. So
Yeah.
anyone who wants to spoil Elite,
Well,
please spoil
I was
them.
doing videos this, and I was actually really accurate on my predictions on all of it. Infinity War and Endgame. I was very accurate on all my predictions. And what I'm predicting
Yeah.
here also is this is tying nicely. Is that there's a lot of talk that what's her face that the new lady that showed up in One Division. I've not seen the last episode yet,
Oh,
but the new lady she's being manipulated.
Agatha.
She's being manipulated by an outer source by someone else.
Oh, Mephisto probably. If you know the source
Do you
material,
say
then it's
Bethesda?
probably to do with Mephisto. Yeah, Bethesda guys, and
Bethesda.
Outback Fox is
I
somehow
take it,
involved.
yeah, but
Mephisto.
oh, oh,
Oh,
right.
yeah.
I know what you're about. Yeah, but with which could tie in because they're gonna do it. They was talking about doing a Ghost Rider series as well, which would tie in him. Equally,
Yeah.
I was thinking Doctor Doom. Had a feeling they might bring Doctor Doom this way in and tie him in
I
because
think there's so many
Doctor
possibilities.
Doom is very tech slash magic, isn't he? He involves himself in sort of both, doesn't he? Um,
Yeah.
and it would then nicely bring in the Fantastic Four and also make a mega villain for the next Avengers movie. I think
Oh,
so.
I can't wait. I can't wait to see.
I
Oh,
got
it's
my
gonna
money
be
on
so
Doctor
good.
Doom actually. I know Mephisto makes sort of sense, but I got my money on Doctor Doom being the
I think
guy.
Mephisto's more gonna be Wanda's kind of
Yeah, yeah,
bad guy.
yeah. That's what I mean. Yeah.
Um, but there is so much you can do with the source material. Anyway, have you been playing any games this week, Elite?
Have I been
I
playing
haven't. I'll
games?
be honest with you, I
Yeah,
haven't.
I've not played much.
Oh,
I'm out. At the moment. I'm downloading Unruly Heroes, which is on Game
oh yeah.
Pass, which is the game you play sort of monkey, the Monkey King, and very other sort of gods and stuff. So I'm downloading that at the moment. So I'm looking forward to playing that because I was raised on because I'm old boy. I'm raised on a monkey. You watched the Monkey series, the
No.
TV. You didn't watch Monkey TV series.
Like
It's a
about the
70s.
monkeys or
No, about Monkey Magic. You watch Monkey Magic?
no?
It's based on basically it's based
Is it a
on
British thing?
no, it's not. It's Chinese. It's based
Oh,
heavily
then
on
definitely not.
yeah. It's based heavily on their sort of what's that religion, sort of Buddha and things like that, and the creation. And you know monk about the Monkey King, didn't you? Monkey is one of their
I
sort of
know about the Monkey King. Yeah.
gods. Yeah. So it's the series is old. It's based back then. It's very good, and it goes through the history of
Oh,
Harry become what he is, and it goes through. It's actually for its time. I thought it was very good. Uh, and I would loved it when I was growing up. You should. I tell you, you should
oh,
go to YouTube and just look up the trailer for Monkey Magic. Just look or the intro,
Monkey Magic. Okay.
Monkey Magic intro, and you'll
All
love
right.
it. It's brilliant.
I will.
And
I will. I lie. I have played a game this week and I forgot what I was playing because I haven't played anything on my Xbox. I played Guild Wars 2. I quite like Guild Wars 2.
Guild
I
Wars. Wow,
go
that's
back
old.
and
Just going back.
go back
Yeah,
into it.
I played that. As
Yeah.
I know, I'm a big MMO fan anyway. So I used to play that years ago. Yeah? Guild Wars 1 years ago.
Yeah.
Didn't know that's
I
still
play
going,
with
that
my
game.
sister Guild Wars
Wow.
2.
Oh,
Yeah.
right. Wow.
Anyway, where can we find you, Elite?
You can find. Well, I'm here, the Elite Gaming Guru. I'm here as always. Don't go anywhere. Stuck here. Not on anything else. Not on Twitter. Not on Grinder. Not on anything. How about you? Where can we find you?
I'm not on any of those places either. I'm kidding. You can find me on Twitter. You can find me at Red Dead Panda 1 on Twitter, and that's the number one. You can find me on Xbox Live at Red Dead Panda 871, and you can also find me on YouTube at Red Dead Panda Gaming. But yeah, I was going to ask you, Elite, because we were talking about this before the show.
Yeah, was.
But how has it been trying to obtain an Xbox,
Right, yes.
a new
So
Xbox?
I wanted to
Yeah.
get it. Well, the plan was I wasn't going to buy an Xbox Series X before Christmas because my wife said she was going to buy me one. Come Christmas, she couldn't get hold of one. Um,
Yep,
and
that's
so
believable.
and since then she's been trying to get one. Now my birthday's coming up on the March the 20th. It sort of comes up around that time every year. And she's still unable to get me one. And so yes, we
I
cannot
would get you one and
obtain
send it over
the.
from New Zealand to the UK.
Could you? Would it work the
I
same way?
wish.
Oh right.
I think it would.
That's my worry. We probably could get one from abroad, but I've got this app that tells me when they're in stock in stores in England, in the UK, in England, and they're just saying waiting on stock, waiting on stock, waiting. And then when they come up in stock, they're gone within an hour, and we just cannot get hold of them. So it's quite frustrating, really. Though I'm not too, to be honest, I'm not overly fussed because there's nothing yet come out that I really, if you know what I mean, that I want an Xbox Series or any console, any next gen console for. There's something that's blown my mind, or anything
Yeah.
that makes me make the push, other than the advancement in quality of games that I'm already playing.
Um.
Other than that, there's nothing
Yeah. I've.
game wise. There's nothing really come out for either console, so I'm not really
Yeah, I
fussed
agree
about
with
next
you.
gen yet. Yeah.
I think it's about. I think it's about the features of next gen at the
Yeah,
moment,
that's
rather
what I
than the
mean.
games for
So
next gen.
that's
That's
why
coming.
so I'm quite happy to wait because
Your
the features are
your
fine.
biggest feat.
Yeah.
Your biggest one you're going to enjoy will be the quick resume.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm
I
busy like playing Mass Effect 3, right? And
um,
it quick resumes on a backwards compatible game. Like
yeah.
I'm stoked. So
Well, that's it. Especially because I do bounce between games quite a lot, actually. Because I
yes,
play
so
MMOs,
do I.
and it's like Conan Exiles, as you know, is my game. So while I'm sort of grinding out stuff, sometimes it takes a while to build stuff, like to make stuff. I can set my
Yep.
character up to make something, but it can take half hour. And usually that half hour, I'll either just sit and watch the screen and go on my phone while he's doing it, or I'll go downstairs and do something else. But it'd be great, but to
Well, I don't know.
switch into another game,
Yep.
play that game, and then just switch back into this while you're still building.
Hmm.
That'd be
Well,
fantastic.
I don't know how good it is with the multiplayer side because it doesn't seem to. Maybe that's something that's coming in a later update. But for if you're playing a like online multiplayer type game like that, it'll usually kick you back into like a lobby or something.
Oh really?
Um, but anything that's not online only, you can just pick up right where you left off. It's just, I guess, for the fact that the system would recognize you as not being active on the game. So you
Yeah,
know how if you're not active on the game, it kicks you back anyway. So
yeah,
that's my understanding. Maybe it'll be in a future update that that'll change.
yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
But let's get on to our topics anyway.
Yeah,
If I can, I'm pretty sure it's not region locked, but if I can happen to find you a console, I'll let you know.
yeah. Let me know. Yeah, go on
And
then.
then we'll sup.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then I'll just
Um,
spam you over the money. Yeah.
um, our first topic is about Phil Spencer and his Easter eggs in the back of his interviews.
Right. Yes.
What was his most recent Easter egg there,
Well, I've
Lee?
just I've just dropped a video on about this subject, and there's been
Yeah.
several cases of him dropping Easter eggs. So it goes way back to the Xbox Series Slim, which when he had the Xbox Series Slim on a shelf, and then he had the Indiana Jones poster. Then he showed off, the Xbox headset. They showed
Oh
that
yeah, that
off. Yeah, in
that trailer.
the trailer, and that actor was wearing them. They showed that, and that was
Yeah.
sort of months before that she even talked about the headset. There's also a
Mm.
bit. There was also another thing. What was the other thing? There was something else as well. But then the recent one now is that they've had the what is it? The robot, the Landon.
Oh, from Kojima? What?
Yeah, the thing from Kojima. There's one of his games, and there was a character from one of his games standing next to the Xbox logo in Phil Spencer's recent video. Now that's weird because, for one, there's no connection between Xbox and Kojima. So to have
That's
one of
true.
the Kojima's um, characters and projects next to the Xbox logo is a big, is either a massive red herring or it's a massive clue. Because why would he link Kojima to Xbox in that way? There is no reason to do it.
Yeah. I I, I think you're right. It's either going to be a massive red herring, so everyone's like
Yeah.
picking up on this, and something else goes
To
under the
draw away
radar.
from something which
Uh,
probably everyone's not looked at, to draw away
yeah,
from something else on the shelf. There could be something else massive on the shelf that
yeah.
no one's paid attention to.
Or it could definitely be something that Xbox is I would say doing something with Kojima,
Yeah,
maybe about an IP or something like that. But I mean, we I think we talked about the headset last week, and I mean, Phil is not the only one who's actually been doing this. I think Todd Howard from Bethesda,
mm,
when it first got announced about the acquisition of ZeniMax, the publisher, which has all of those studios and underneath it, he had something Indiana Jones themed in his
yeah,
office before it was even announced that they were going to be working on this game. So for me, the fact that there are these Easter eggs in this, even if it's just in an interview, um, I love Easter eggs in games.
I
I love
do.
Easter eggs in shows, and I feel like a lot of
Movies
us
doing it,
geek out and
yeah.
nerd out, and we get
Mm,
excited, and it allows our imaginations to run wild, and like it, and other things like that. So I think it's brought another element to his interviews
yeah,
for the
yes.
fact that you can what I would like to go and watch his interviews because you don't know what secrets he
Mm.
is potentially going to leak out. But what are your thoughts like about the actual Easter egg for Kojima?
Yeah,
Are you excited
he's
or?
being very clever. I do love this approach now. It reminds me, as we talk about Marvel, it reminds me of sort of the Marvel movies where they just drop Easter eggs in, or they drop stuff in after the credits, so you sort of hang around and watch for
Or
beyond the
yeah,
credits.
or Ready Player One. If you haven't seen Ready Player
Yes,
One or read the
yeah,
book Ready Player One, that is Easter egg central.
yeah. So, what this means for the actual thing itself and Kojima, what it could be, I think it could be three things. I think I said three things in my video. For one, um, firstly, Kojima had he was making a horror episodic horror movie for the Stadia,
Was that with Stadia?
which was cancelled recently. So it
Yeah,
could
that's
be
true. It was cancelled. Eh?
which would be perfect for Game Pass. It could be that Microsoft have picked it up. They've gone, oh, we're of that. Cheers, thank you. Here's some cash. We're of that
You're dead
episodic
right. It could
horror
be that.
movie. Yeah, that would be brilliant. That'd be fantastic. So it could be either be that. It could either be uh, Kojima just wants to make more money because you know what he's like. He's all about money. Sony fanboys think he's all about them. But at the end of the day, especially after the backlash of Death Stranding and the hate he had, and the
Or not getting Game of the Year,
yeah, well, yeah, at that, and the
losing out to
people not
Sekiro.
buying the game and the ratings and that, he really had to go we really had to go at America, to be honest. Didn't he? He called Americans idiots, didn't he? If I'm not mistaken, he literally called them idiots.
Yep.
So, and then it didn't sell. I don't think it sold nearly as well as he thought it'd be. for a console that had 120 million units on the market, it didn't sell anywhere near, which I think we imagined, and it didn't get the praise that I think he wanted. To be, I'll be honest here, he's a bit of a pompous idiot. I'm not keen on his games, and I think he comes across as a bit of a twat. But for his stuff to be on Game
Fair enough.
Pass, that's great. You know, at the end of the day, because there are people that like his stuff. If it's Death
Oh,
Stranding
wait.
was on there, I would play
It's
it.
Death Stranding coming to Game Pass, isn't it? Isn't that the announcement? I'm
That's
joking, guys. I'm
no,
joking.
that's my next statement. Is it's either I think it'll either be well, that's my second statement. It's either going to be this horror game Microsoft have picked up from Stadia, so it's going to Game Pass, or it's going to be all Kojima games like Death Stranding going to Game Pass, or
No,
the
thank
third option ultimately would I think if Death Stranding went to Game Pass though, wouldn't you play it? You'd
Nope.
download it for free, wouldn't you? But it's free. I'll download it and I'll try
No,
it.
I would probably watch someone play it, but I have no interest in that game.
I've no
It looks
interest.
so weird to me.
But I think that's
Yep,
the
no
beauty of
interest
Game
in it.
Pass though. Rather than paying £70 for games, which Sony charge, I would much rather go to Game Pass. I download it and then play it, and then I can say I've tried it and I don't like it. That is the beauty of Game Pass.
Yeah, well,
Rather than
I
spending
could
seventy
download it,
pounds to
but
find out you
then
don't like something.
I mean, you could download it if you want it on Game Pass and just pay a low subscription fee cost.
Yeah,
But then I'm like, I'm wasting my time on a game I probably won't play.
no,
And it just means that I'm taking myself away from a game that I actually would play.
yeah.
So, I
No, I
mean,
suppose
that's
it's
the
that.
purpose
Yeah,
of Game Pass anyway. If we talk about Game Pass, is here are the games. It's your choice. You pick what you want to
yeah.
play. If there's a
That
game
is
in
it.
there that you really want to try, like you'll give it a go. Like I gave it Falconeer a go, and I didn't really enjoy it. It
No,
wasn't my type of game. But it was on Game Pass, so I gave it a go. It looked somewhat interesting, which has compelled me to play it. Like I like the art style and everything
yeah,
like that. But Kojima's Death Stranding game is not one that
nah.
I'm at all
No
like
interest. Yeah,
want to give it a go or anything like that. So even if it came to Game Pass, and we're not saying it does, guys, we're just spitballing
yeah,
and joking around the side of things. But if it did ever come, even if I got a PlayStation, I wouldn't play it on PlayStation.
no. And
It's not my game.
no,
Um,
and the third option I was going to say was
yeah, continue.
Kojima is they have just bought Kojima Productions. Xbox have just bought because we know there's after a Japanese studio, and the third option
Um,
is they've bought Kojima Productions, and now Kojima is making games
my
for Xbox, which would be
my
mind
question
blowing.
to you my question to you then, if that is a idea that you want to spitball into the world,
Yeah.
how much do you think Kojima would be worth?
Well,
Definitely not
I,
a
I don't
ZeniMax
think no,
acquisition
I don't
amount.
think. To be honest, he probably thinks he'd be worth a lot. I don't think he would be worth much because looking at his games and especially the ratings, yeah, especially recent, they
Well, how
don't
much was
rate particularly well and they don't sell
how
particularly
much
well. So I wouldn't rate him very
how
well.
much was
But
Insomniac's acquisition? Wasn't that like 220 million or something?
250 million was
Oh,
Insomniac.
something like that. I think
Yeah,
it'd be less than Insomniac,
yeah,
to
I
be
do,
honest. No
I
offense,
do,
Kojima.
I do. I reckon it'd be probably about 50 million. I reckon.
Yeah, if
If
he's lucky.
Sonic's 250
We're
million,
so savage.
I reckon he's about 50 million to 100 million. He's worth half of Insomniac, to be honest. Though Sony
So
fanboys,
do you?
the thing is, Sony fanboys have been praising him, but the moment he goes to Xbox, everybody said he's worth nothing. That's the comedy of it.
What my
But
my
no,
question to you here then is, out of the options you've given yourself as to what you think this could mean, what is the one that you're hoping it actually means?
right.
What do you what are you thinking it could actually be? Like out of the choices you've chosen, like what's the
But the thing,
highest
yeah.
probability that
The
you
thing is, with option 3, you get option 1 and 2 as well. You get the horror game on Game Pass, and you
you're
get
just
all
being
these
greedy
games
now?
on Game Pass. So I would kind of go with option 3, being that they just buy them.
And it depends on the IP. Like I think
I
Death Stranding's IP is owned by PlayStation rather
well
than
the
Kojima, right?
horror game is interesting. What he's talking about, what they're talking about, because who made Silent Hill? That's not him, is it? That's not linked to anything like that, is it?
Yes. Yeah, he was gonna do a Silent Hill
Yes.
one. Yep.
So
And it was gonna have that roof whatever that guy is
yeah.
who was in
So
Death Stranding.
yeah. So that's what I'm kind of thinking about. To be honest, I've not really cared for any of his games. Not playing any of his games. I don't know how to care him, and I think he's a bit of a penis. But if Microsoft Studios purchase him, there will be people that enjoy his games, and that's what Game Pass is all about. It's all about variety and quality of gaming, and there are people that enjoy his games, and it also hits the Japanese market
See, I
massively because they
I'm of
seem to love him.
I
And what? No, sorry. I just want to get this point across before I forget about it. What most the biggest statement from this is who loves Jeff Keighley? Jeff Keighley loves Kojima the most in the world, doesn't he?
Kojima. Mm-hmm.
And how is the wave, the shock wave that will cause if Kojima moves over to Xbox? Can you imagine Jeff Keighley? Because he's a massive PlayStation fanboy and a massive fan of Kojima and literally loves him. If he moves to Xbox, can you imagine Jeff? He will be in such an awkward position for Game of the Year awards and stuff like that, where he's like, "Oh, I love you, Kojima, but
Well,
you're
I
on
think it just
Xbox." He'd just implode, I think.
yeah, but I think it'll just prove the point that what everyone says and people saying he's not biased, he's clearly biased. But
Yeah,
um,
because you wouldn't see a Kojima game
I'm of two.
nominated ever again for a good Game of the Year award. That'd be it.
I'm going to say my bit and then we're going to jump over. And my bit's going to be really small. I promise you this time, Elite. It is.
Okay.
I'm of two minds. So I'm of hoping that it is them just trying to pull focus away from another Easter egg that's sitting in that background.
Yeah.
But it could just be that there is going to be a game or something that they've come to an agreement to do with Kojima and Xbox, whether that is putting some Kojima games on Game Pass, or it could be, hey, we're going to have a exclusive game that Kojima is going to grab, make, and it could be that one from Stadia. But that's my mind. I'm secretly hoping, because I'm not a big Kojima fan or of his games, that it is them pulling focus. That is what I would like it to be. But with the way he's been doing things, it's definitely highly likely that there is something coming that hasn't been announced in relation to Xbox and Kojima. Yeah,
Even though
that's all I wanted to say.
and I just want to finish up on. Sorry, I just want to say, I sort of agree with you. I think it will be number one. I think it will be his horror title because Phil Spencer a while back said there is one unannounced massive third party IP that we're publishing that we've not announced yet, and I think that possibly
Elden
could
Ring.
be it. Yeah, that possibly could be it. So, what did you say?
All right. I was saying Elden Ring.
Yeah, it could be that.
We
Could be
haven't heard
that.
anything about that
No,
in
we've
forever.
got that. Yeah,
But okay.
but it could
How
probably be the
about
Kojima's
we're
new
gonna
IP. Let's move on.
we've spent ages on this one. We're gonna move over to our next topic, and our
Yep.
next topic is talking about PlayStation VR2,
Ooh.
so the second version of VR. What are your thoughts on this? Because PlayStation announced it on their blog. Obviously, there's nothing out there saying like when this is coming. Like, there's no images about what the VR headset will look like. And there's no images about what the actual, I guess, controls will be. Obviously, they're going to try and line it up and with the DualSense and whatever else they want to use. But they have said that, and it's going to be a lot easier for people like having the single cord instead of having multiple cords. But what are your thoughts on VR, especially their announcement for
I
number
think,
two?
yeah, I think you're sort of you looked into this more than me. So I'm just gonna say my bit. My bit mainly is PS. I know I've heard about PSVR2, but the two things that come to mind is one, Sony have not mentioned anything about PSVR on the PS5. They've not announced even any games for it either, any next gen
That's
games
correct.
for
Yeah.
VR. So um, it almost looks like they've kind of, whereas towards the end of last gen or last few years they was really pushing VR, wasn't it? It was a massive thing. VR. They're showing all
Yes.
their game shows. They're launching games for it. Since the launch of this gen, they've not shown anything regarding VR. No games, no nothing. Almost if they've dropped it. And I think they've kind of now seen it as a sort of a sideline project, kind of what Phil said it would be. That's why Phil didn't get on board
Yeah.
with it. He said it's just not in the mainstream. It's not worth investing money in. And I think Sony feel sort of the same way. So I think yes, they're probably pushing a PSVR 2, but I don't think we'll get it or till probably mid-gen refresh. To be honest.
Yeah, I don't. It. obviously they're only talking about it now, and I think
Yeah,
PlayStation has a habit, and it can be beneficial and also detrimental, like just detractor away from what they do when they announce things. Like they're very quiet about certain things, and
yeah,
they won't come out and say, like, if something's not going well in the press and people are waiting for Sony to kind of talk about
yeah,
it,
yeah,
to actually change the narrative, they say nothing.
yeah,
And Sony has this history of coming out and only really talking about something when they actually have something to say. So right now, I guess they're just saying, hey, for all those people who purchase VR, stick with us. The VR2 is coming, but it's
yeah.
not coming anytime
It's
soon as
not.
far as we're
That's the
aware.
thing.
I don't think
Yeah,
it's coming out this year. And
no.
if it might be that they announce it maybe at an E3 and actually give an idea of what it'll look like. But I reckon that if they do decide to bring it out this year, it'll be holiday. I reckon it's probably coming out next year, maybe,
I don't think it will.
possibly.
To be honest, I think they'd be stupid
You
to
don't
release
think?
anything this year. I think they'd be stupid to release it this year, and especially with no games
Well,
backing it up. I reckon.
yes, I know.
I reckon we won't get anything because I don't think we'll get anything
2023.
2023,
You reckon 2023?
23,
I
24
would
maybe.
be.
Yeah,
I would agree with you there as well. I think we're more likely to get it in 2023 than we are
yeah,
next year or even this year. We're so unlikely to get it this year. Because PlayStation, like on their blog, they're talking about how people are just starting to design games for it. So like
yeah,
they're still designing these
yeah,
games for the new PlayStation VR
yeah, exactly.
experience.
And
So
you,
I think we're a bit of a way out.
yeah, and you want if you're gonna
Um,
release a product like that, you want a run of games that you can drop with it. You don't want to release uh, a VR unit and go, and you can play this one game. There we go, enjoy. Because that's how it failed in the first
my
place. Because it's like I'm not spending £400 on a VR unit just to play. What was it? I can't remember the game, the launch of it now. It's just like one game. You thought, oh no, and
There
that's why
was a
it died.
couple of games, and it
But there
was
wasn't. They was just very average. They've not got
yeah. And
any. They've not yet. They've yet to get any of their first party developers making games for it, haven't they?
No, I mean they shut down that VR studio, right?
Yeah,
No
yeah,
one ever talks about
that,
studios. PlayStation
yeah.
shuts down. Only what Xbox shuts
Yeah,
down.
exactly.
Um,
That
but
Sony shut down quite a lot. Actually, my video covered one of them. Yeah, it was. I think it was a Liverpool VR studio they cut down. That's VR. But they
yeah,
also recently, as I covered in my video, the studio that makes Astrobot. I think it was Japan Studio. I think they actually called Japan Studio. Um,
Mhm.
they've cut them. They've actually cut them and wound them back, and now they're only focused to making Astrobot games now. So that could be their only
boring.
VR link. Yeah, that's which is sort of
It
VR.
sounds
That's what
like
it's.
what
Yeah,
Xbox already has with some of their studios. How like
yeah.
343 does Halo, and the Coalition does Gears, and those sort of things. And I feel like making a studio just do one
But
thing,
yeah,
yes,
but that's
it's great.
what's
They get really
yeah,
good at it, but it also you they'll get sick of it and they need something else to do.
yeah,
But I mean, if we look at PlayStation VR when it first came out,
yeah,
it was a series of experiences. I think when we see PlayStation VR2, I think it is going to be more what you would expect from Sony. Like, I mean, Half-Life Alyx was a what multiplayer game, and they did Half-Life Alyx with VR.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
think that was the first kind of inkling into what you could potentially do on VR if you actually took the time to make. And I think that's what we may see coming from them now, when it actually releases. I'm happy that they're making it simpler in the sense of not so many chords and making it more user friendly. I'm worried about the price.
Yeah.
But I'm also like, are we at a point where we don't need cables yet? Because I know this stems onto not only did we hear about PlayStation VR, but Microsoft at their Ignite conference. Was this in the last week? Yeah, within the last week, showed off Microsoft Mesh, which is a Microsoft venture, and it does have possibilities to actually bleed over and benefit Xbox to some degree. I know they're kind of talking about it in the sense of being like having virtual team meetings as a platform there to replace like physical conference rooms, those sort of things. But then they also showed off, and they would have had agreement with Nintendo to show off Mesh with Pokemon.
Yeah.
So I'm quite intrigued by Mesh because it's not just set out as like virtual reality itself. It's a mix of like virtual reality and augmented reality, and it's not just set to use for one device like a HoloLens or a VR headset. It can be used for your phones and your PC and other things like that. There's a lot more applications, and it's going to be using the power of the cloud with Azure servers. So I think there's a lot more potential for for this to possibly take off because of its varied applications and such for both the PC side and the Xbox side of things than it is just to be stuck into a headset, which is why I think we haven't seen Microsoft kind of or Xbox kind of go, hey, here's here's our headset, because there's so many third party headsets that are usable both on the PC platform that could be easily used on the Xbox platform. They just have to enable it, and maybe they're waiting for this Microsoft Mesh to actually really come to fruition because it's something they've been working on for years.
Yeah.
Um, what are your thoughts? You probably haven't heard much about Microsoft Mesh. I know Brad Sams did a video on it this week sometime, but I just saw it and was like, the possibilities are endless when you aren't locked into one ecosystem or one type of headset, and there are multiple ways that you can access the service. Um, I think that's kind of where we're looking at how Game Pass is, and that's what I think Microsoft Mesh might become if they put a Xbox component to it.
I think Xbox have been very clever now this generation. I think they've learned a lot of
Yeah.
mistakes from last generation, and they've learned to uh, back themselves up with their statements and sort of work behind um, sort of the curtain this generation. So I think they're getting on with stuff and working on stuff, and then slowly hinting on stuff like this. So I think there's a lot more
Yeah.
going on behind the curtain that we know about, and I think VR probably is one of them, or that kind of
Yeah.
sort of thing. That what because Phil did say he would only approach it if it ever become popular, mainstream, which is not been, but I think he's not forgotten about it, and I think he still wants it there as an option. And I reckon it could
I
be an
think
option,
for
and probably Oculus would probably be the best bet, I'd imagine, if we did venture go down that route.
and do you know how you'd make it mainstream elite?
How you'd
By making it
make it cheap?
how you'd make it mainstream?
You'd
Make it cheap, yes.
you'd make it cheap, and as I said, you need your big budget um, developers to produce decent games for it. You know, people don't want to play sort of your Astro Bots and things every other game. You want something mainstream and big for it. So I think that's the two underlining things. I think
Yeah.
with the quality, you want the cheapness. I think about 100 or 200 price range, not 400. What the PSVR
No,
was
you'd
originally
want it
for.
to be
One
more
to 200,
obtainable. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, £100 to £200 with quality titles to back it up from the get go.
I th-
And I think that's what they're
I think
working on
another
behind the shelves. Gordon, what did you say?
yeah, I think another way to make it more obtainable is by making it available on not just a gaming thing, so people don't feel like it's just used for one service,
Oh yeah.
one type of
Oh, yeah, cool.
service or
Yeah, oh,
anything
yeah,
like that. So I think if they made it more mainstream
yeah.
and then started to show the applications that you could use it in other areas, once people have buy-in,
As a shed in
and
Hollands, yeah,
the general public has
yeah,
buy-in, it's the general public. Once there's buy-in from the general public, it no longer becomes this niche little side venture, and
yeah.
I think that's where the general public are now coming, like within the pandemic, within the last year, they've really kind of opened their eyes up to what the gaming industry is, because they've had to find solace in being locked in their homes for so long and those sort of things. So I think because of that, if we have an application like this Microsoft Mesh, where it's available to the general public through Teams and those sort of things, a lot more of the general public are playing games now, and they can see that cross application there. So I think that's beneficial. I'm happy that PlayStation VR2 is coming. It's something that I remember talking with my sister about right before PlayStation 5 launched, maybe 2019, 2018, when I was like, I know what the next thing is, like what they're going to try and do, and what's going to happen with the goalposts, obviously, is when PlayStation VR2 gets announced, you're going to have this massive surge into that from Sony's side of their fan base.
I,
And I
I,
feel like the goalposts are going to
yeah,
move that
I
way.
think Sony should be clever with this. If I was Sony right now, they can see they've lost the power range, and they've not got the first party games to compete with Xbox. That's just a fact. They've not. You get people say, "Oh no, they're going. They've not got. They've got nowhere near." Xbox Series X has triple, if not more, first party console exclusives than the PS5,
Yeah.
confirmed, ready to release, and that's not even without ZeniMax titles yet to be confirmed, which we'll find out at the end of this month. Um, then there's xCloud, which Sony can't compete with either. Sony cannot compete with xCloud. I think their best approach would be VR, would be to go,
Yeah.
okay, Xbox has won those two wars, but we'll win the VR war. And then they should
Because it's a
input
different market that Xbox isn't
exactly,
in.
and yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, a market that Xbox hasn't put their toe into yet. So it's a market that they can get a lead on. So if I was PlayStation heads, I would be like, this is our market. We own this. Let's just go for it. We'll put our money into PSVR2. We'll make it cheap. We'll take a sucker punch. We'll take the hit like Xbox does with their ventures. We'll take a hit, and we'll have to get some of our first party developers producing top games on it. Like when the next,
Yeah.
no, the next, for example, Uncharted 5, we'll make it VR, Uncharted 5 VR, something like that. You know,
Yep.
they need to do that. That's what they need to
Yeah.
do. God of War VR, just do it. Just do it. Go for it. That's
Mm.
what they need to do. If they want it to, if they want to
Um,
shift units, that's what they need to do.
I don't think I have much more to say on PlayStation VR than
Nor do
it's
I.
coming and it is going to be it's going to be an improvement. I'm kind of intrigued by Mesh because we don't know much about it. We already know what VR is because we've seen their PlayStation's version 1 of their VR, so we can understand what that's going to look like. Possibly we're going to see an insurgent in actual decent VR games this coming generation for the
Yeah.
next VR headset. But I'm more intrigued by the applications available through Microsoft Mesh and seeing whether or not it gets utilized within the gaming community, whether that's from a PC or Xbox or phone state, because that's also something that they're talking about, being able to use it with your phone and those sort of things. So, are you happy to move along?
Yeah, let's do it. What's the next
All
subject?
right. Next subject, we wanted to talk about
ZeniMax?
ZeniMax being like the
ZeniMax.
acquisition being finalized. Um, what do you want to say about that? Because did you say something in your video about it at all?
Yes,
Or?
I did.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
so
watched the video. So
it's been confirmed that ZeniMax now, Xbox now, it's all been signed off, and they officially own ZeniMax now. Because there was a lot of sort of
mm,
legal um, things going on behind closed
behind
doors,
the
wasn't there?
scenes.
Yeah, behind the scenes. So I think that's what everyone was waiting on. But now everything's been confirmed, and Xbox now officially own it all now. So
Yeah.
now all we're waiting for now is for the Bethesda show and the big reveal. So
What are your thoughts like around whether or not you think that we are gonna hear what we think we're gonna hear? Because everyone
that's a
has gone under the assumption if PlayStation had the money and bought Bethesda or ZeniMax, that every game would be exclusive. What are your thoughts? Do you think that's going to be what actually
right.
happens when we get these announcements, other than the games that are already contracted to go to PlayStation as like a timed exclusive and
Yeah.
such? What are
Uh,
your thoughts? Do you think
what?
we're gonna see?
Yeah. I think there's once again two options to this, which both options Xbox win. Basically, it's a win-win scenario. Um, the first scenario
You can't
is
say that. That's not allowed. Xbox can
yeah,
never win.
they lose both scenarios. Xbox makes money, they lose. Xbox lose money, they lose. Oh wait a minute.
They would.
Yeah. The first scenario is the games are exclusive, and I'm there's a lot of people that are also on top of this that they're going to make the games exclusive. I kind of, and Phil's also hinted at this. I think they will be exclusive to Game Pass, i.e., if you've got a PC or an Xbox or any other uh, mobile phones, for example, that can use Game Pass, you can play these games. They did offer it out to Nintendo. Nintendo actually turned down Game Pass. So we have to see how that goes in the future. They never offered it to PlayStation. So that's their first option. Is it's going to be exclusive to Game Pass. The second option is they make the games multiplat. But then you've got to take into account which PlayStation fans will be going, having, you know they will be jumping on um, the bandwagon that Xbox is going out of the console business, they're rubbish, blah blah. But then you've got to take into the fact that these games will be launching day and date on Game Pass virtually for free for every Xbox and PC owner. However, for every
Mm.
PS5 owner, they'll be charged £70 for these games. So
Mm.
they will be making the majority of their money will be made from PS5 gamers. So while the PS5 gamers
Yeah.
will be going, yeah, we're going to buy Xbox games on our PS5, you've got to sort of double take on that and thinking, yeah, and you sort of yeah, I mean, do you not see the sort of the stupidity of your statement that you're going to be buying? I do the same with PC gamers that they said there's no point buying an Xbox console. I'm just going to buy all their games on my PC, and I'm like, okay. It's just okay, good, good. That's what Xbox want you to buy. They want you to buy all their games, which you're going to do. In fact,
That.
you're probably going to invest more money into Xbox games than I am on your PC than I am on my console. So I don't know what your point
Mm.
is. And that would be the same
Yep.
statement for PlayStation fans that they will be spending £70 on Elder Scrolls 6, on Starfield, Indiana Jones if it's exclusive. All these games come out, they'll be spending £70 on these games, and that's not even including microtransactions that go into the games. So either way,
I think that.
it doesn't matter. But my
Yeah.
opinion is, I think they might go exclusive with it, just to push possibly Game Pass more, rather than sort of the
I th-
revenue from PlayStation. They might want to push Game Pass more.
yeah.
What do you
I
think?
think you're right. To some degree, I'm of two minds around this, or probably more than two minds. Around the ZeniMax acquisition because when it was first announced that they were in in that process of acquiring ZeniMax with all the studios. When they were talking about that, Phil was talking about the fact that this would be a case by case basis when they're
Yeah,
looking at whether or not a game becomes exclusive. And when they're talking about an exclusive, they are talking about exclusive to the Xbox ecosystem. And the Xbox ecosystem does not just belong in Xbox. It is on PC as well with the Game Pass Ultimate side of things. So I think I think there is a definite argument that there will be games because from my understanding is ZeniMax, whatever their new name is going to be, and I can't think of it off the top of my head, still can publish what they would like and do all of that. So I think we're going to see some games that will be multiplayer. And when I say multiplayer, I mean can come to PlayStation at some point. But I think for the majority of the games, we will probably see that exclusivity, and it will be console exclusive. So it's still technically like multiplayer in the sense of it isn't just available on Xbox; it is available on PC as well. Um, and then there's always the fact that Microsoft could easily just go, "Hey, we're going to just make it on our own ecosystem. Anything that was currently under contract to be on another ecosystem, we will fulfill that." And he's already said we're going to do that. But my understanding is Phil has come back and said we don't want to limit people playing games. So that's always in the back of my mind, him saying that and me going, "Well, how would that actually?" Um, Look if we were talking about this acquisition from ZeniMax. So I've always kind of been thinking, yes, I think we're going to get that exclusivity, but I'm also of that other mind going, he said this, so I think it might be case by case depending on what the game is. Like, I know maybe it might be just finishing off any franchises that were available on other games, and then any new IP is completely exclusive to the ecosystem. I'm not 100% sure, and the thing with that is like we know that if the PlayStation had got ZeniMax, it would be exclusive, right? That's just
yeah,
PlayStation in general. The difference I feel from looking at from Xbox and Microsoft in general is they are a lot friendlier and more open to working with others and allowing as many people to enjoy their games. And you are right. I think if they do end up making it exclusive, it's only going to be exclusive to the ecosystem. So Game Pass will be PC, console, on your phones because of the cloud. And I think that's going to be a huge thing. So I can definitely see both options where it's a case by case basis of games possibly going to more than just the Xbox ecosystem. But I also see the side where it is just solely in the Xbox ecosystem. Um, I'm excited. I think we're not going to actually get anything proper from Xbox until the Bethesda announcement in March later this month, where we actually find out what's happening. I think they're going to keep it quiet and get as much people tuning into that showcase as they can by not saying anything. How to build up hype, get everyone to come and watch it so they know what's happening. That's my thoughts. Do you think that that's what's going to happen for the Bethesda show, or do you think Xbox is going to come out and announce anything earlier?
Well, I've heard there's Xbox are also doing a show. There's talk of Bethesda and Xbox doing a show. So
Possibly, yeah.
I'm not too sure if Bethesda will announce it now in their show, or if they will just talk about their games, and then it will be reserved for Xbox to come out and say, yeah, these games are exclusive,
I
and then
think
just drop a mic
I
and walk off
think
the
if they
stage.
were to do that, we would see Phil at the Bethesda show talking about
Yeah,
that maybe with
so
like
I
Todd
think he
Howard or
would be
someone.
walk out. They would introduce him and he'll walk out, and he would say these games are all exclusive. This game,
Yeah.
this show is undoubtedly going to be one of the biggest shows of the year, um,
Hmm.
or one of the biggest shows of a long time. It's gonna destroy shows like State of Play, for example. Everyone's everyone is talking about this. All gamers, everyone, media, everyone wants to know will these games be exclusive to Xbox. A lot of people actually not buying either console because they're holding on to this decision what these where if it is going to be exclusive. So there are so many eyes on this decision and so many eyes on this event at the moment that it's going to be incredible. And I think it's going to be just
There's a
massive,
lot of hype surrounding it, yeah.
massive hype. Yeah, yeah. Is hype the right word? I don't know if it's hype so much is, or more of a case that
And
more of a sort
I'm
of
anticipating it.
a reality.
I'm
Yeah,
excited.
yeah, exactly. I think it's yeah. Hype sort of gives the impression that um you're sort of
I
hyping
think a lot
something
of
up,
people
but
are
it can
intrigued
necessarily
by
be
it
crap.
actually.
But this
I,
is,
I,
regardless of if it's whatever comes out of it, it's going to be amazing. I think so.
well, what do you think we're going to see there? Do you think there's going to be anything specifically announced or actually shown about the games coming? Um,
But
what's
yeah,
your thoughts on what's coming?
yeah, so they're obviously going to show. I think well, they will show. They'll probably show some Starfield detail. I've said for a long time. I think Starfield will go to Xbox exclusive anyway via Xbox
Yeah,
preview program, and probably in the summer.
considering it's their first big IP
Yeah,
it's their first
and it's
new
been
IP in years. So
uh,
I think you're
yeah,
right.
and it's sort of been in sort of development. It's sort of a long going sort of thing, isn't it? So I wouldn't be surprised if it goes to Xbox exclusive via preview program because Sony doesn't allow that because they don't want their games to play incomplete games. Um, so I reckon it'll go exclusive via that. So it sort of almost sort of bypass the whole rule of exclusivity thing by preview program thing. But I reckon they're obviously going to show Elder Scrolls 6, Indiana Jones. But what else? And then any other stuff they've got. We don't know what other games they've got lined up.
They've got lots
Apparently,
of games lined up that we
yeah.
don't know about. Yeah,
Who's the company that makes Wolfenstein? There's meant to be a. They're meant to be
Machine
making something
Games.
new. Yeah. Oh yeah, they're working Indiana
Machine
Jones.
Games is
Yeah,
doing
yeah. Indiana
Indiana
Jones.
Jones.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I can't think of the others.
they're probably
They
working
got
on
so many
Indiana Jones
studios.
and the next
Yeah.
Wolfenstein.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, they got so many studios going. It's, I mean, it's just so many possibilities. Um,
Well, Bethesda's working on that Deathloop, so they're still finalizing that. That studio, that Japanese studio, is working on that Tokyo Ghostwire Tokyo game. So there's some studios that are tied up in finalizing their games that are about to release. So, um, what do you? I guess my thought here for the Bethesda show or whatever that's going to happen there is because we knew that ZeniMax was cashing in, or whoever the parent company was cashing in on these IPs. We got games like Fallout 76, and then we got Wolfenstein: The New Order. So they weren't amazing, and they weren't up to the caliber that you would normally get from a fully fledged like game from those studios. I think we're going to start to see these companies show games
oh
in
yeah.
the light that that we're used to,
Yeah.
in the fact that they because I know people are like, oh, since Fallout 76, Bethesda has
Yeah.
really gone downhill as a studio, and
Yeah.
I'm like, technically yes, but I think they were also kind of rushed into and were
Yeah. I
forced
think they
into
knew there was
pushing out these games.
they knew there was running out of budget. They knew there was running out. Oh, sorry. There was ending as a company. There was engine, and I think
Yeah,
they were just pushing these games out quickly. They just get them out, just to
I
get the
I,
money in
I
before we
think we
just give up. Yeah.
yeah, I think we're going to see Starfield, and I know because Starfield has been mentioned so much. If you look at any interview or any talk about anything to do with these guys,
Yeah.
it is Starfield, Starfield, Starfield. So I have a feeling we're going to see something about Starfield, and I think we're going to be pleasantly surprised by it. And I feel like you're right. I think we're going to get that as an
Yeah.
exclusive game, and it's going to be the game that sets them off on the on a new footing to go, these are the caliber of what we're wanting to do, and
Yeah.
now we have that opportunity to do that. So this is what you can expect from our games. Um, I think we're gonna just hear about, I guess, their roadmap, maybe a bit more about their roadmap.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
I think if we hear anything, I think we're gonna hear actually what is going on with the acquisition. I'm
Yeah.
that's what I would like. It might be a mix of a proper Bethesda thing or a Microsoft thing, because I know that Microsoft is what I mean. Xbox is the publisher for a lot of those first-party games and everything like that. But we're looking at the fact that the new title, they're still going to be independent around publishing what they want to publish. So I mean, we look at that with any game that's any company that's been acquired by Microsoft as of late has had that ability to put out a game that they want to put out and put their heart and soul into it. And I feel like we're going to start seeing that. There's so many games in the works. That
Uh,
from not just ZeniMax, just from Microsoft Studios in general. So if they do a joint thing, and I think they might do a joint thing or they might not,
yeah.
we're still going to get a hell of a lot of information within the next 12 months about what we can expect from Microsoft, that this whole Xbox has no games rubbish is finally going to be done and
It's,
dead.
they're still going.
I think it's
They
finally
go
going to be
that everywhere.
finished because
Yeah.
they're still mentioning it.
They still
I
say
mean,
it, even
both,
though Xbox Series X
yeah.
factually has more games. That's triple the amount of games coming out than PS5.
Well,
But they still say Xbox has
you
more
look at
games.
those.
It's like, ooh,
Have you seen the articles that have just come out within the last few weeks? Last week and a half actually, saying that, hey, I love my PlayStation type thing, but the Series X has become my main console. Like I only
yeah.
turn my PlayStation on
That's
when I'm
that's
playing like a
yeah.
exclusive, and that's 100% true. Because you have this, like, even though you've bought your games and such for PlayStation, you've played them all. If you go to Xbox, you have Game Pass. There is an abundant supply of games coming in and out of that subscription all the time. So it's like a non-stop door, like carousel. What are those doors that consistently go round and
Oh
round and
yeah.
round?
I know. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
of games entering and exiting the service
Turnstile doors or
that
whatever. Yeah.
you're not gonna get bored. And I think, yes, they both companies do not have games
No.
right now that are like fully exclusive first party
No.
type AAA
No.
bangers at the moment. They're coming. I think you might get some more from PlayStation before you get them from Xbox, but I
I
think
don't think you
Xbox has
will.
also been tight-lipped of what they're doing.
Where?
Well, I know you don't consider Ratchet and Clank a
No.
AAA game in that regard because it's not your type of game, but on the PlayStation side, there are fans who
I know.
definitely
I
would
know. I
be
think
that's
it's
their
Triple A.
highlight of the
I
year.
do think it's Triple A. I don't think one has it been confirmed for this year.
I think it's worth it though.
Has it been confirmed this year?
The Ratchet and Clank game. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it
coming out this
has.
year.
No, yeah, because
It got delayed. It was meant
well,
to be
bear,
earlier in the launch
yeah,
window,
because bear in
and
mind
now
they said
it was delayed.
they still hold by God of War coming out this year. They still hold by that, even though they showed nothing of it other than the title. That's apparently still coming out this year. So I just wondered if
It's
that was
totally
still coming out
not.
this year. And same
It's
as
not
Horizon
coming
Zero
out. And
Dawn.
what?
Remember Horizon Zero Dawn's meant to be out this year. They've shown nothing more of that either.
I thought they got delayed. Didn't they get delayed? Someone was saying it got delayed. I don't know.
I know there's talk about
Um,
God of War being delayed, which we all knew would happen, even though the PS4 fanboys were like, no, it's still coming out this year. And you're like, it's not. I'm sorry to break it to you.
definitely
Sony
not.
have not got the guts to tell you, but it's true. But it's definitely
Well,
not.
I think Sony
They're
is
sly.
struggling with this pandemic this year.
I
Within
know.
the last 18 months,
No. Why are
I
they?
think Xbox is struggling less.
But why would they? Why would Japan be struggling more than America when America's hit more the highest in the world by the pandemic?
Well, I think the reason being is as much as they like to put on this front and said that they had more consoles ready, they were more prepared.
Oh
Because
yeah,
we know that
what
their
is that?
RDNA
Yeah,
3,
because they lied basically,
um,
and they've been caught out.
RDNA 1.5, I think that they've it's hard to say that, and I feel bad for the people who have blindly believed everything that
Tony said.
PlayStation has said about the system, and how there's not much of a difference between both the Series X and the PS5. There is a massive difference, and I think because there's a massive difference, even if they do a Pro, PS5 Pro, I still think it's I don't know. It's just it wasn't well thought out, and this was on Twitter the other day. Actually, it might have been today that I saw this on Twitter. Was someone talking about the PS5 SSD and saying that so far no devs have actually been able to get the PS5 SSD to work optimal in an optimal situation to take full advantage of the speeds available at it. So far, that's zero devs have been able to do that, and I think the only devs that will are PS5 developers, and then they still have to take into the factor that if they're going to be putting games on PC, not only do they have to have a game that takes full advantage of the SSD, but what about um, PCs? Because they won't be able to take full advantage of that SSD. It's customized. Um, I don't know. I think we're in for a crazy few years of seeing what happens because right now my feeling is there is a lot of positivity about the Xbox at the moment. In
Yeah,
general,
there is.
not
Yeah,
just in general. I feel like there is a lot of positivity, and I feel like a lot of people's minds are changing
there is.
around
Who?
seeing this box as, hey, just
Konami? What's that
just
media channel? Konami?
Kotaku,
Kotaku? Yeah.
Kotaku.
But they've recently come out and said they've switched now from PlayStation to Xbox, haven't they? They've switched
Yeah.
allegiance. Yeah. People were switching
Well, we
sides.
say allegiance. Wait till the next PlayStation 5 games comes out, and they were like
Yeah.
Xbox 2. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty certain we're going to see a change for the positive. And even though it's going to be positive, they're going to hold Xbox to this really high standard,
Yeah,
and I
that is
don't
always.
understand why when they don't
Yeah.
hold PlayStation to the same
Yeah.
standard. But I think it's because PlayStation is very quiet about what they
Yeah.
tell everyone and the way they message everything,
Yeah.
whereas Xbox is a lot more open. And because they're a lot more open, I feel like they're more open to criticism in that
Yeah,
regard
that
as
is true.
well.
That is true because I mean, you look at Xbox One, the launch of that, and Xbox got slated by the media, went through hell just
Yep.
because of DRM. Even though the PlayStation 4 was going to have DRM as well, they kept quiet about it, and then there's no real issues on both sides of the consoles. But then you look at the issues on PlayStation 5, issues with the console, the lack of games, the whole cross-gen thing, then the DualSense controller issues. But just the media are not tearing them apart. Nothing near what happened to Xbox One. They're not getting. There's no negative. There's no positive, but there's no negative. But when the Xbox One launched,
Yeah.
it's just all negative, negative, negative. And that went on for 7 years of negativity just because of the launch. But
Yeah.
PlayStation is always just, yeah, yeah, we just ignore it. Yeah, they've done a really
Mm.
bad job. They've been lazy. They're lying. They're misleading. But yeah, anyway, let's move on. Just ignore it. Yeah, it is frustrating. It
We
is
were
very
above we're
frustrating and
above it
lazy.
now. I'm happy with where Xbox is sitting. I am disappointed with where PlayStation is
I
sitting, and I
still have a
say that
plan on
because
buying a
there are so
PS5 as
many.
well. I'm going to buy Xbox Series
I
X
s-
first, so but whenever I get that, but I'm
well,
gonna still planning on buying a PS5. But there is no future goal to buy a PS5. Maybe when they drop the PSVR2, I will purchase one, which, as I said, will
I'm
probably
struggling
most
too.
likely be a mid-gen refresh. But with no games, there is
I'm
no
struggling
roadmap for games, so nothing. No, I'm not buying a
because
PS5.
you and I both had a decision that we wanted to both buy a
Yeah,
PS5 for this
yeah,
generation to
launch. Yeah,
to actually be a bit more level-headed around
yeah,
and actually get to see both sides of the consoles themselves and then talk about their merits in a more objective point of view.
Yeah, and play their
Um,
games. Yeah, more
and
objective
play
point of
their
view. Yeah,
games and those sort of
yeah.
things. But
Guess we got our podcast to
I
go. Yeah,
I'm on the same boat as you, Elite. I'm struggling to actually decide to purchase a PS5 because
yeah,
every time I hear more news about the
yeah,
PS5, I'm like, but why aren't they doing that?
yeah. The external
Like the
overheating
whole
issues recently is just like,
yeah,
and the DualSense
the
controllers
fact that we talked about the
broken.
fans,
Yeah, yeah. It's just so many
the fans, and the fact
issues.
you don't know what you're buying, it's a
Yeah,
lottery type things.
yeah. And
I
it. Go on,
I
sorry.
just don't have faith in it.
No,
Sorry,
nor do
you and
I.
I both like, oh, we're so
Yeah,
disappointed with
yeah,
us with where PlayStation is right now. Like, there are some people who have just blindly bought it, and I don't think really took into account um what the differences were between the two systems before they bought it because
yeah,
they believed the hype behind Sony. If they had done exactly what they should have done and kept the momentum running from PS4, I think it would have been a different story. I mean, they still have momentum. I just think it's a lot of it's deflated itself because we're now starting to see that these games that have been the development kits that have been with the studios longer on the PS5 side, whether that was multiplayer devs and those sort of things, you're starting to see that even the extra time with the optimization isn't always outperforming the Series X, which has less optimization on it. And that goes to say that brute forcing, the
yeah,
system is a lot more powerful and future proofed than the PlayStation system.
yeah. And then people are gonna say like, oh, you're just being Xbox fanboys. But if you really are basing it on sort of what the consoles are playing like and blah blah blah. Why didn't you buy a PS4 last gen instead of Xbox One? The reason why I bought, just the same as the reason why I'm going to buy Xbox Series X this year, the reason why I bought Xbox One was simply the games. Um, Xbox had at launch it had Titanfall, Rise, Son of Rome,
Rise,
um, Dead Rising
what's another one that?
3,
Yeah, I
Killer
was gonna say Dead
Instinct,
Rising,
Forza Horizon 5,
Titanfall.
Titanfall or something. I did that, and then you had later on you had Forza Horizon, you had Forza 5, whereas PlayStation 4 just had Knack, Infamous, Drive Club, and Killzone.
Yep.
Oh, sorry, Xbox also had Sunset Overdrive as well, didn't it? Yeah. Um,
Yeah. Well, I mean, we look at
it had
the 360 and the way it came off the. It was at the hype, and you were like, I'm gonna buy a Xbox One because I was so impressed with the 360 and the games
yeah,
they had on there, and it's just going to be an evolution of that. So that's why I bought into it, and I didn't care about DRM or anything like that because I knew like I'd seen what was happening
yeah,
with the 360 and was like, I have faith that it'll do something. And
yeah.
obviously, I was a little disappointed with what actually happened.
DRM was a
But
positive to me
then
too. Yeah, yeah,
but then looking at what Phil did when he announced backwards compatible games and then brought out the One S, which beautiful console,
yeah,
and then the One X, and then I could see, well, this is Phil's vision, and he's still going to be here running the show for the next generation.
mm,
So I have a lot of faith in where this is going.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I had a lot of faith.
Because Xbox had an idiot
I
leading
think,
Xbox One at launch, and they still sort
oh
of
my
did well
god,
with
yes.
games and etc. So now with Phil at the helm, it's
Mm.
like if you say he led on from the Xbox X, look at the Xbox X, uh,
Yep.
the capabilities of that, and sort of, and
Yeah, so
he's got an agenda, and he's gonna
so
win.
yeah,
He looks like a winner.
I
He
had
looks like he
faith
wants to
in
win. Yeah,
I had faith in the hardware. I had faith in the
yeah,
hardware for the Xbox side. And I had faith in the software, and
yeah,
then it didn't actually deliver as well as it should have. But then when they started acquiring studios, I could see the vision and knew that it was something worth buying into and sticking with because Fable. Oh, so glad Fable.
yeah.
One of my favorite gaming franchises. Um, but I'm not like I don't have faith in the PlayStation hardware, and I'll give you the example. When I in 2013, we had a digital Digital Nations Expo, where it's just like both PlayStation and Xbox came to here, and they showed their consoles off to the public for the first time in worldwide. And I played on the Xbox One, and I played a couple of games on there. So I played uh, what did you say? Sunset Overdrive, and I
Yeah.
played Forza Motorsports, and I played Killer Instinct, and I played a whole heap of other games.
Forza
Um,
Horizon.
and I was really really impressed with the build quality of the
Yeah.
controller,
Yeah.
and I didn't and the type of games that were coming. And then I went over to the PlayStation booth, and I was like, okay, I really just want to test out this controller, because I've hated
Yeah.
every PlayStation controller that has ever been released, and I say that because it's not comfortable. I don't have big hands, so you would think that it would be comfortable for me because I have
Yeah.
tiny hands. Um, no, so uncomfortable to use.
Yeah.
And I'm coming from because I've got big Nintendo background for gaming, and I'm coming from that side, and their controllers are fine, comfortable enough. Like, I probably love the annoying Nintendo 64 controller a little bit more than I should. Because it was, when you think about it, if I go use that now, it's absolutely awful. But I loved it back then. But I hated all PlayStation controllers. I found it so difficult to try and play a game, which is partly why I refused to get a PlayStation, was because I would be gaming on this controller and I would be absolutely miserable. Now you can put third-party controllers in, so I could have a Xbox type controller to play on a PlayStation console, which would
Yeah.
be so much easier for me. But when I picked up the PS4 the DualSense 4 controller,
Mm.
and I'd been playing with the Xbox One controller, it felt like a Hasbro toy. And a Hasbro toy, I don't know if you have Hasbro where you are, probably do,
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
famous company. But they felt like I was playing with an actual children's toy. It was so light. And the build quality felt so, in comparison, just rubbish. And then that was my first impression of the PS4, was the build quality of the controller. I'm like, I'm going to be using this all the time. I I mean, the controller was definitely a hell of a lot more comfortable than all their predecessors, but going from the 360 controller, and feeling the improvement from the 360 controller to the Xbox One controller, um I was like, in comparing the two, so the Xbox One controller and the PS4 DualSense controller, DualShock. Sorry, now I'm getting used to saying DualSense, DualShock controller. Um,
Oh, yeah, I
I
keep
had no
calling Dual
faith
Sense.
in,
Yeah.
in, in, in the hardware. I had faith in the Xbox hardware. I had no faith in the PlayStation hardware for their controller, because that's going to be getting rigorously used. Who cares about the boxes in that regard? But the quality of the new consoles, one is clearly uh, better quality than the other, and the build quality, the design quality, engineering. So I had a lot of faith going in and purchasing this. I have a lot less faith in purchasing a PS5,
Yeah.
and you're probably of the same mind.
Yeah. Yeah. No faith at all. And it's always remember that hardware and power doesn't matter. Said no PC gamer ever. So yeah.
Yeah. All right, where are we sitting at? How long have we been doing the show for?
I think we're done there. I think we've
Yeah,
been
I think
going
I
for
think we've
an
talked
hour and eight
talked
minutes.
ourselves out.
Yeah, well, I think we're done.
Yeah,
We've covered all our subjects.
and
So
I've rambled for quite a bit, so
you did. I did mute you during that. I didn't. Yeah, I
probably
muted
deserved it,
you
guys.
and when I watched WandaVision. So,
Oh yeah, that sounds legit.
but yeah, thank you all for joining us again. Um, it's going to be a
Yes,
goodbye
thank you so much.
for me and the Red Dead Panda.
We're gonna see if we can get a guest on next week.
Yeah,
So look out for a guest hopefully next week with our video, with our podcast. So thank you for joining the Gamers Initiative podcast. I will share it on Twitter
yay.
as well. Follow me on Twitter. There will be a link for this video as well.
Okay, so thank you
Bye
all for
guys.
watching and goodbye for now. Bye.
Bye.